It's your job to find it.
That's what I'm gonna say, so you don't have to wait. So you're not having a shower? Way more advices. Yeah. Well, let us know because it's gonna do a thing with their name. You didn't say anything to me. Okay. That's okay. I mean, we want the baby to be born. Yes, the baby's coming very soon. He's taking over the okay.
Should I wait for Jeremy or get started? Okay, great. All right, we'll get started. It's 6 p.m. for our June 9th, 2022 regular council meeting. Lori, can I get a roll call?
Mayor Young,
Here.
Vice Mayor Stone,
Here.
Councilmember Deambra,
Here.
Councilmember Brandon,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Okay, and the invocation tonight will be led by Pastor Paul.
Thank you, Mayor. Father, we come tonight again at this time of the month to gather for the business of our village, to discuss different consent items and various other issues that come before us, Father, tonight. But Lord, I would just like to just pause for a moment and pray tonight for our country and for families, Lord, all over our land that have been devastated in these past several weeks by the senseless, horrendous killings of children and teachers and adults, and I think of the families in Uvalde, Father, and I can't even imagine what they're going through, and those folks in Buffalo just going grocery shopping, and in Tulsa and Philadelphia, and whereas Chattanooga, even tonight as we speak, something going on in Maryland. And Father, I just tonight ask for your grace and your mercy, God, and your peace that passes all bit of human understanding to just fill those families, Father, with your grace at this very difficult time of their lives. Thank you that as a council and as a village we can pray for those families tonight, Lord. And we lift them before you. Father, I want to thank you always for everyone who's a part of our village family, for our law enforcement, God, our police and fire, our chiefs, all who are part, our officers who keep us safe and make this such a wonderful, desirable, pleasant place to raise our families and to live, Lord. Thank you for that. Thank you for all of our department heads, Father, for their leadership and for every member of our village family who is employed, Father. I just lift them before you tonight. And thank you, God, for those who sit before us on the dais, our mayor, vice mayor, our council members, Father, and our village manager, our village attorney, our village clerk. Lord, give them wisdom and direction as they as they make very, very critical decisions tonight. And then, Father, we would pray last of all for those men and women in uniform that protect us and allow us to have the freedom to work, to gather together like this and to conduct the business of our village. Protect them and their families, we pray. In your name, Father, we pray tonight. Amen.
Amen. Everyone could rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to get a motion of approval of the agenda with one change. I would like to add Vice Mayor Chip Block from Jupiter Inlet Colony to be the first presentation to discuss a potential upcoming water bond with the county.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Vice Mayor Chip.
First of all, thank you very much for your invitation to be here among our friends in Tequesta. I just got 2 texts from Mayor Abbey asking what the heck I was doing here. I said I came just to hear Pastor Paul's invocation, and I noticed he didn't include any lawyers, Keith. So I'm here to talk about the water bond. I'm the Vice Mayor of Jupiter Inlet Colony, as Molly said. I'm also the chairman of the County Water Resources Task Force, which is the primary advisory to the Board of County Commissioners on water issues. And also Vice President of Sustainable Palm Beach County, which is a group that works with government and developers and to ensure sustainable development in the county. And of course, I'm particularly interested in North County. And I will be brief because I see you have a very heavy agenda, and my friends from the Inlet District are here with, I'm sure, a much more elaborate presentation. So I'm going to read just kind of an introduction about the water bond, and we'll be happy to answer questions. An ample supply of clean water is the lifeblood of our community. This is true everywhere, but especially in Palm Beach County, because it is also vital to our economy. There has been well-documented destruction of Florida's natural water systems over the decades. The county, state, and federal governments are all committed to restore our supply of clean water. The county has a very good track record to this effect. However, much damage has been done over the years, and the corrective action must continue. A group of water experts have proposed a $100 million clean water bond to be approved by the voters of Palm Beach County in the November election. For it to be placed on the ballot for voters to decide, a majority of the Board of County Commissioners must approve it going into on the ballot before August 5th. The 3 objectives of the bond are to increase the supply of potable water for our growing population and to vastly improve the water quality in our critical waterways, including the Loxahatchee River and the Lake Worth Lagoon. This will be accomplished by a multitude of projects, including septic conversion to sewers in pollution hotspots. By the way, most of those are in close to the lagoon, not up here, thanks to the Loxahatchee River District. Stormwater treatment and the preservation of wetlands for natural storage. The cost to the average taxpayer would be about $10 a year, a small price to pay for a large benefit. Historically, when the county invests in clean water, the state and federal governments take notice and match or exceed the county's investment, a multiplier effect. The other reason for the investment now is that these are essential projects, not a wish list. We will have to protect our water supply, and it will just be more expensive in the future if we delay. Historically, the voters of Palm Beach County have enthusiastically, sorry, my Law and Order ringtone. The other reason for the investment now is that these are essential projects, not a wish list. We have to protect our water supply, and it will just be more expensive in the future if we delay. Historically, the voters of Palm Beach County have enthusiastically approved investments in the environment, especially in clean water, by large majorities. We ask your help in encouraging the Board of County Commissioners to put this bond on the November ballot. Let the voters decide. So, specifically to Tequesta, the benefits are obviously directing clean water to the Loxahatchee River. The systems have been disrupted with problems in Lake Okeechobee, the water going down to West Palm Beach is polluted. They cut off the water to the Loxahatchee River without going into too much of a technical nature. And that restricts the flow of the minimal daily requirements of clean, fresh water to the Loxahatchee. With the inlet predominating, what you wind up with is a loss of cypress trees. And I'm sure Joe can give you a much better summation of the dangers to the river if we don't maintain a flow of fresh water to the river. The other benefit of the projects in the water bond to this area is in maintaining and building our aquifer for water storage. I'm sure you know the village gets, in Jupiter and Lake Colony, get our water from the aquifer, from wells, and as opposed to West Palm Beach, which gets it from surface water. Frankly, we're in much better shape than they are, and will continue to be so because of the excellent operation of your water systems. So there is a direct benefit to Tequesta, but moreover, a benefit to the county. And we fully expect the Water District and the governor, who's been very committed to water projects, to devote funds to match the funds that the county would expend on these projects. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I didn't go through the projects on a one-by-one basis because I think it's something that only water nerds like me are really interested in, but I can assure you that there are projects that are very, very worthwhile in attaining our objectives. Questions?
Vice Mayor Chip. Council, any questions?
Okay, two quick questions.
Yes, right.
To the extent there are issues beyond the immediacy of these projects that are happening outside of our sphere of influence, meaning outside the county,
Yeah.
how confident are we that there's going to be comparable actions either taken by state or neighboring counties to also mitigate damage, because some of that is influencing what we're experiencing. So this will go part of the way, may not go all the way.
Right, absolutely. Martin County is pretty good, and they're doing a good job, and they're trying to, they've got some money that they're expending. They've traditionally been very good on water issues, but they could help a lot, and they can do more. The good news is that Congressman Mast, who's my senior partner in some of these efforts, has introduced and successfully introduced legislation in Congress to provide funds for water projects north and east of the lake to mitigate the runoff into the Caloosahatchee, the St. Lucie, and the Indian River lagoons. So there's a lot that's being done, and for a lot of reasons, there's quite a bit of money available to do these things. But my experience in business has been that when you come to the table and you're trying to make a business deal, the best thing you can come to the table with is a big check to, in effect, entice other people to put money on the table as well. Palm Beach County is traditionally under, I hate to be get into partisan stuff, but under Republican legislator and governor, has been a stepchild in some ways in terms of receiving funds for this kind of effort. But some of us have a very good relationship with the congressman and the governor, and so I think we'll be successful in getting money from the state and the feds to match these projects. But you're right, water doesn't know this is Martin County, this is Palm Beach County. We have a lot of problems with the lake because of pollution coming from, frankly, the farms, from septic, well north of us, and from the 3 counties up near Orlando, which are not as scrupulous about maintaining good ecological policies as some of us are in South County.
Well, I know there's been at times proposals made for more comprehensive programs to address it on a broader scale, as you've described, and some seemingly, even when they looked like they were going to go through, some of them have then fallen by the wayside. The other quick question, which is off this topic, my understanding is that there is a renewed effort by the Beach Road Association to address the narrows and the safety in the narrows.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard, I don't think we've heard anything recently about that. I was just wondering if you could just give us a very quick update.
Well, the marine industries challenged the ruling by the Fish and Wildlife on a technical basis for a slow wake zone up there. Frank and I work closely together on this. They seem, the Fish and Wildlife seems determined to do a workaround to correct whatever problems there are, so that the judge will allow them to go ahead and establish the slow wake zone. But if it comes to that, I might be back here and at Jupiter requesting everybody's support for the slow wake zone. I mean, it puts a lot of lives at risk, and injury at risk over there.
Yeah, it does.
The other thing I will quickly mention about the water bond is if we pass the water bond, it obviates the need for a $200 million reservoir at Mecca, and in effect will save the taxpayers on a federal basis and state basis $200 million, because we want to preserve that as wetlands instead of building a reservoir there. So that's a benefit in terms of the financial aspects of it.
Thanks, Chip.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Any other questions? No? Okay, so is there any interest from council to have Jeremy send a letter in support of this to the county commissioners?
Molly, if you'd let me add, what I'd ask for is a letter to the county commissioners, just simply saying, leave this up to the voters, not endorsing the bond or anything.
No,
just
to
saying,
support it to be put on the ballot.
Just
Yes,
put
thank you
it
for
on the
clarifying.
ballot.
I would support that.
Everyone else okay?
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Yep, okay, great. All right,
Great.
Thanks, Vice Mayor.
Thank you all. We love Tequesta. We shop here. We love you guys.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Jupiter Inlet District.
All right, so I think the first thing I have to say is thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation. My name is Joe Chaison. I'm the Executive Director of the Jupiter Inlet District. And I'm very happy to say that I've got one of my commissioners with me here this evening, Jim Davis, who's our Secretary Treasurer. I'm especially glad to be presenting to Tequesta as I'm a resident of Tequesta. I'll be starting my 11th year here in a couple of months. And as I said, I'm the Director of the Jupiter Inlet District. This presentation that I put together tonight is primarily introductory and informational. The idea was I'm relatively new in my position, having come on board in 2019, and this council has also have some new members, and we thought it was a good time to introduce ourselves to each other. So first off, I thought I would explain, what is the Jupiter Inlet District? We're an independent special district, what you might call a specific purpose government unit. We were established in 1921 by the state legislature, meaning that we just had our 100-year centennial last year, which was a big deal for us. This little quote here is actually from our enabling legislation. I've really glommed onto that. I think it kind of explains our purpose. And it states that we're organized and exist for the purpose of deepening and maintaining the Loxahatchee River, deepening and maintaining the Jupiter Inlet for the preservation of public health, for public good, and for the use of the public. I've tried to memorize that. So as a special district, we are differentiated from municipalities and counties in that, we're alongside of them, but unlike a municipality, we can only do what we're allowed to do in our enabling legislation. So this really guides what we do. And then sort of how do we do it? We this is our district boundaries here. We have a 92 square mile district that includes several municipalities. It actually includes Jupiter Inlet Colony, Tequesta, Town of Jupiter, Juno Beach, a very small portion of Gardens, and a large portions of unincorporated Palm Beach County. Our revenue almost exclusively is through an ad valorem tax, which is a minuscule millage of 0.0921 this last year. We tend to nearly exclusively take the rollback rate. Our council is very proud of that. I think we've taken the rollback rate 18 of the last 20 years. And I expect we'll be doing it again this year. So that's our district boundaries there, you can see. We very much like Tequesta have a board of 5 elected officials that govern the operations of the district. They are elected to 4-year terms at staggered 4-year terms with 2 and 3 up every odd-numbered year. And also, like Tequesta, the board itself nominates and votes on who will serve as chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. So that's sort of what we are and how we operate, and then what do we do? So we primarily operate and maintain the Jupiter Inlet and the Jupiter Inlet jetties, and do restoration and enhancement projects along the river. So we built and own the inlet jetties and own the land underneath it. We actually lease some of the property on the South Jetty to Palm Beach County Parks at $1 a year for the operation of Jupiter Beach Park. And we also do projects along the river, like our recently completed Living Shoreline project at the lighthouse, which we're very proud of, and I would be glad to show it to anyone, anytime. We're very proud of that project. In addition to that, and we also, the most important thing we do is we dredge the inlet annually, which is to say we have a sand trap, which is just a rectangle drawn inside the inlet. We dredge that to 20 feet deep nearly every single calendar year. I think that is also 18 of the last 20 years. So every year, whatever sand has come in the inlet, we dredge that, and we place it on the beach south of the inlet. And in addition to those type of things, I'm not going to attempt to list all of our projects, but this slide is intended to show that we do projects all the way up the river, almost as far as Trapper Nelson's, and projects up and down the river. In the central embayment area, we maintain and mark those channels there, the main channel and the south channel of the central embayment. Those are our channel markers there. We just completed a dredging project on the west end. Does this have a pointer? No, no, forget it. The west end of the sandbar, you're probably all familiar with that area. That's always problematic. We just this last month completed a dredging project there, 10,000 cubic yards. We have a dredge material management area, a facility at our property off Delaware Boulevard in Jupiter, where we pump the material to and de-wall it there. So, I thought it would be very sensible to do a deeper dive on one specific project of ours that's very important to ourselves and this audience here tonight, and that's the enhanced clearance span for the FEC Railroad Bridge. I know I don't need to describe to this audience the effects that Brightline could have on the area if they reached their goal of 16 round trips a day, which would mean 32 additional openings and closures of this railroad bridge. So our council, about a decade ago, saw this possibility and conducted a boat study. We did a 2-year-long boat study of all of the vessels transiting the bridge here. Counted all of the boats by hour, by day, by month, and also, most importantly, analyzed the air draft, which is to say the height above the water that all the vessels are, what they would need. And we concluded that about 80% of the vessels transiting that area would be able to accomplish getting under a bridge that was between 7 and 8 feet high above the water line. So armed with that, we approached, it was All Aboard Florida at the time, with a partnership to have one of the spans of the bridge be an enhanced clearance span. It's kind of a structural engineering solution, but basically, I know you guys are all, well, you can even see it here. The current bridge, the tracks are on top of the beams. There's a way where you can accomplish that. It costs more where the tracks are alongside and above the beams are alongside and above the tracks. And what that gets you is approximately 8 feet of clearance at high tide and 10 feet of clearance at low tide. So that will be, one of these spans will be an enhanced clearance or a small boat span. The incremental cost of that is $2.6 million, which the Jupiter Inlet District is paying. We did pursue and obtain a cost-sharing grant with the Florida Inland Navigation District. And as you know, the Bascule section, they just completed that. They're working, that whole project is going from north to south. So the enhanced clearance span, I think, is currently scheduled to go in September, October. So that's progressing, and I thought that was a good example of a project that this council might not be aware of, and is an example of what we do. I was told I had 10 minutes, and that was my goal, was to keep it to 10 minutes. So I'm glad for questions, and I really appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself to you all.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Just, it is your goal to dredge the inlet every year.
Yeah,
We're not going to do that skip year again.
that was quite a
Okay.
thing. That was like I said, I came on board at the end of 2019, and that was right.
I only asked because that was such a huge safety concern.
It was.
And we have, in the boat world, so many new boaters, and there isn't really a great way to teach people how to really boat correctly. And if they're new to the area and they don't know the channels and the tides and the rhythms of the seasons, it could be a nightmare. So I like to hear that you guys have that goal of every year.
Yeah, and that was my biggest takeaway. I intend to. You're going to do it every year.
One quick question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is technically in your bailiwick or not, but, you know, for years, when people went to the sandbar, they went to the north side. In more recent years, people have moved to the south side of that sandbar. There used to be a lot of seagrass in that area. With all the people parking their boats and getting out, a lot of that seagrass has been killed off. And as we know, seagrass is essential to the health of the river. Is that something you guys oversee, or, because there are concerns, again, with the increase in boating and then people not maybe understanding, you know, how all these things interconnect, that, you know, not necessarily intentionally, but, you know, we're continuing to do damage, you know, to that ecological environment.
Yeah, we take environmental stewardship very seriously. That living shoreline project that I mentioned was a zero
Yeah, you
seagrass
referenced that.
impact. And also, that's our project at that mangrove island there, which was also a restoration project and a zero seagrass impact. And this is very timely because we're right now coordinating with, you may be familiar with the Jupiter Inlet Foundation and their informational seagrass marker buoys. Well, we know that they're looking to permit, install additional ones, and we've been coordinating with them to ensure that we've got a lot of data. We've got a lot of bathymetry and seagrass data, and we want to share it and make sure that these markers are put in to best communicate that to voters. So
Okay.
we share that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
With the Gulf Stream moving north, why don't you dredge the inlet and put to the south?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that softball. I'm a coastal engineer by education, so that's a wonderful question for me. It's true, the Gulf Stream does go north, but along the east coast of Florida, the net literal sediment transport is north to south. In this area, it's estimated to be about 80-20%, where 80, our most common wind is from the southeast, but the wind which moves the most sand is that northeast wind. So the south shoreline is considered the downdrift beach and the one most likely to be impacted if the inlet were capturing sand.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a bypassing goal that's established through an inlet management plan that's adopted through the state. Our goal is 75,000 cubic yards per year, which we're achieving 102% of that. So we're kind of right at it. You don't want to get out of balance too much in either direction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, thank you, Joe. Thanks
Yeah,
for coming
thanks.
today. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I would like to pull 6 for just a brief discussion.
Okay, southeastern printing estimate. So this is for the actual
For the consent agenda.
printing. And I think the next one's for the mailing of it. So you want to pull just the printing?
No, I'm talking about the approval to sponsor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking
Plus the
at,
chili
so
cook-off.
you're looking at
Oh,
Number 6.
number 6. Sorry, I was looking at 3,
3-6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number
Like
6.
chick cook-off. Okay. Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Item number 6, is the chief here? Chief Truce, okay.
He's
The
not
reason
present.
the reason I wanted to pull this is, I understand, I was hoping the chief was going to be here to address this, that they were looking to move it down to the Lighthouse Park, but I understand there's an issue with that, that Jupiter doesn't want their fields potentially torn up. So I think there was some discussion about potentially holding it at what used to be Paradise Park, depending on the status of that property. But if that's not available, obviously there would have to be another alternative, and I was hoping Chief Drew might be able to address that.
So I can address it. I did
Okay.
talk to Dave McGovern, who's in Ireland, and it's still answering my call, so I mean, how great is that? They do have an application into Jupiter for the Lighthouse Park. They do anticipate or hope that they still have Main Street as a #1 site for this year. However, they're still working on that transition, so, it's either going to be on Main Street or it'll be at Lighthouse Park, one of the two this year.
Okay.
So there is concern from Jupiter about tearing up the fields and, so there's conversations going on right now. So it hasn't been presented to council at this point. It's just at a staff level.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve that item.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, end of the consent agenda. Moving on to communications from citizens. Lori, do you have any public comments?
Howard Taylor.
Harold Taylor, 13 Chapel Court. I've been attending council meetings for over 20 years. There is one protocol I have never agreed with to this day. That is the 3 minutes that residents are limited to when addressing an issue they have concerns with. While I understand why this protocol is in place, in the past, this protocol has not always been strictly enforced. If the issue was complicated, residents have been allowed to exceed the 3-minute limit. At the May 12 council meeting, it was strictly enforced when agenda item number 20 was being considered. This item concerned a 6-month moratorium on new development or redevelopment. There was much discussion by all 5 council members on this issue, indicating the complexity of the issue. The agenda item eventually failed by a 3-2 vote. What concerns me is the time given to resident Tom Bradford to present his views on the issue. He was limited to just 3 minutes. Given the amount of time council spent discussing this complex issue, it would be virtually impossible for any resident to address their concerns about the issue in just 3 minutes. When a resident is cut off at the 3-minute limit, you are essentially censoring their views. At the May 12 meeting, I raised my hand and was allowed to speak. I requested that my 3 minutes be allocated to Mr. Bradford so that he could finish his presentation. That request was denied and Mr. Bradford was not allowed to continue. Censorship is never a good idea and violates the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees freedom of speech. You cannot have a free society when any level of government imposes censorship on its citizens. I would request that the council discuss this issue at the next workshop. I have 2 suggestions. The first and best suggestion would be to ask the presenting citizen how much time they need to finish their presentation. If only a minute or 2, allow them to finish. The second suggestion is to honor a request to allow a citizen to allocate their 3 minutes to the presenter. Should be noted that in the U.S. Senate, any senator is allowed to allocate their time to another senator so that that senator can properly address an issue. We should probably do the same.
Thank you. All right, next.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name's Perktown, and I live at 364 Fairway North. And the issue that I'm going to address tonight, none of you can do anything about. We'll start right there. However, I think you should know what's happening. I happened to overhear a conversation the other morning, and it was about an incident that had evidently taken place at the Bagel Bistro. Evidently, I don't know whether the person that was relaying this information was actually there when it happened, or whether they were relaying what they had heard. And you know when things get passed from one person to another, things change. But what I heard did not correlate with what I knew. The individual was saying that somebody at Bagel Bistro was being very loud and questioning Chief Medina's capability of running the police department. And that did not correlate with what I know about Chief Medina. I've been a resident since March of 1981. We have been through many police chiefs since then. When I first got here, Chief Flanagan was the chief. He retired and Chief Allison became the chief. These 2 men had the great respect of every citizen out here. Of course, the village was smaller at that time. But why did they have that respect? It's because they loved the village, they loved their job, and they respected the residents. And they wanted their officers to do the same. And every time I was out walking, and a patrolman, whether it was in the car or on the motorcycle, would stop, get out of the car, and talk to me. It could have been anything, you know, just shooting the breeze or wondering if I had any concerns in the community, and if I did, how could we address it? Well, we've had many police chiefs since Chief Allison retired. And of those, Chief Medina is the only one that's coming close to those priorities. He formed the Tequesta Residents Action Committee, which I happen to be a member of. That's why I know what he's trying to do in this community. And he's trying to emulate the same thing that the 2 original police chiefs did when I was here. And we meet now every 2 months. Our next meeting is August. When we first started meeting and forming the group, we were meeting every 2 weeks. And what we would do is we go out in the community and we talk to the residents. And if they have an issue, what I try to do is I say, okay, you have an issue, go talk to the chief yourself. That way you'll get a rapport going. If you don't want to do that, I will forward the suggestion. And I know the one person went to the chief and got the issue solved.
If we could just
Well,
wrap it
anyway,
up, yeah.
He got the issue, she got the issue solved, she lives on Ridgewood Circle, and we've got communication back and forth. And I think that we should be very thankful that we have Chief Medina as the police chief.
Thank you, Part. Okay, any others, Lauren?
Yes, one more, James Goodmaker.
Good evening.
So I was interested in getting some pet chickens, and I checked your rules for Tequesta, and apparently all poultry are prohibited, but you do allow things like other pet birds and stuff like parrots. So I was told to show up here and speak about, I guess, getting it reconsidered or something. I'm mainly just interested in it for like ethical and environmental reasons, because like, you know, like most of the chicken eggs you get at the store, they raise the chickens like just in these small cages, like, unless you go for like the really expensive eggs. So that's mainly my interest for that. They're pretty good pets for the backyard. And I was speaking with the store, One World, right down the street, and they're all big into like the sustainability stuff, and they have some local chicken raisers. They're not Tequesta obviously, but they're nearby, so that's what I basically just got into recently. So yeah, I mean, I didn't really have much to add other than that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have until actual agenda items.
Okay, great. All right, moving on to communications from council. Any council communications?
I'm good.
I have two items. We had a discussion at the last workshop about rental notification, and that's really what we were discussing, was passing an ordinance that would require a certain number of days notification if a landlord decided not to extend a lease, or if they were going to raise the rate by more than a certain amount. Everyone up here said that they had not had any conversations with people that had been impacted by this, and I indicated that I had had conversations with several. I had another conversation with somebody this past week whose landlord came in and told them they had 30 days, and had they not had family in the area that they could have moved in with, they're not sure what they would have done. So again, I don't see this as intrusive. I think this council needs to be sensitive to the current economic environment. When you own a home, this may not impact you directly, but there's quite a few people in this community, believe it or not, that do rent. And I think providing them with some measure of notification, in this case we had recommended 60 days, if a landlord was not going to extend the term, or if the rent increase was above a certain percentage, I would like this council to consider that once again, because it is having an impact on people in this community, and I think it's the least we can do to show sensitivity to that issue. The other thing I would like the council to consider, I don't know how many of you have been over at the rec center. I've been there frequently with my grandchildren, and I am getting some feedback about concerns about non-residents occupying the building, and meaning residents are having difficulty getting on the courts, for example, with their children. And also I've heard feedback about the fact that the rates that we're charging are less than what our residents are paying through their taxes. And a number of people have raised, I think, legitimate concerns about the decision that we made. So I think we need to review these policies. I don't know how much more time we want to let pass before we do, but I'm getting feedback on these issues. And I wanted to bring it to the council's attention, and I think we need to review this perhaps sooner than later. So those were the comments I had for this evening.
Okay.
So I've heard really good experience going on with the rec center in the summer camp. Got some real good feedback. I know they've had about 100 kids or more going there. Parents are enjoying the process of the summer camp. So just hats off to getting that program up and going.
Okay, and I have nothing. Okay, moving on to standing reports. Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Mayor. Just something to put on your radar again, that I am monitoring through both the Florida League of Cities and the Palm Beach County League of Cities. One of our neighboring communities, Jupiter Island, is involved in some recent litigation that has to do with the issue of notice, and specifically they had a situation where they had an ordinance passed on first reading. It was advertised properly for second reading. At second reading, there was a decision made to continue the second reading to a subsequent date, and they announced, as I've advised you many times, announced time certain at that hearing. You do not have to re-advertise. They were sued under the theory that they did have to re-advertise that. So the Florida League of Cities is considering joining that lawsuit on behalf of Jupiter Island with an amicus brief. Nothing for us to do. My opinion is Jupiter Island is in the right for having proceeded that way, but there is actually no case law one way or the other on that topic. The goal would be to get good case law on that topic that supports the current practice. So it's a new case. I'm keeping an eye on it. Just wanted to report to you that that is something that's going on right now, and we'll keep an eye on it and let you know how that progresses. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Davis? Okay, moving on to Village Manager.
All right, thank you. We are hosting the Florida League of Cities monthly meeting on the June 22nd. Super excited about that. We have got confirmation from Representative Snyder and Senator Powell that they will both be in attendance for that. Big thanks to the clerk's office, a little bit on the business liaison side. We have put together a packet for our realtors. I think you guys have that. We have brought back our business directory that we hadn't published in 3 years or so. So I know Lori did the lion's share of work on that. We have a first budget workshop June 27th, and then the regular workshop July 5th. And with that, that's my report.
How do realtors get that packet?
We've already sent out an email asking the realtors if they're interested in having that. We have got a response. I don't know if we've got more, but we just started. I mean, this is hot off the press late last week, so we're working on getting it to everybody.
Okay, moving on to the Police Department. Chief Medina, let you come up and see if anyone has any questions on your report. Any questions on Chief Medina's report?
Not directly on your report. With what's happened in other areas of the country with respect to violence against entities that are providing women with a choice, so for those who choose life versus an abortion, obviously there's a number of those facilities that have been attacked here in the last couple of weeks. We have Hannah's Home, which I know has been very much embraced by the Tequesta community, but I think in a lot of cases, the violence that's been directed at these facilities has come from outside the community. I don't know, I didn't know if it was necessary for us, or if there were steps that we needed to be taking, or what kind of conversations have happened with the folks at Hannah's Home to make sure that we do not have, that kind of an event happen here in Tequesta. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there and what you do with it, what you will.
We have a great relationship with Hannah's Home in regards to any issues that they have. So they know we have open communication as far as that goes. We also monitor through Palm Beach Sheriff's, the intelligence unit. If they get any viable threats or anything of that nature, we're on the list in regards to information being shared on our end. So, that is something that they're always looking into, because they have the ability of social media and everything else, all the other platforms that they monitor. So, we would get something in that regard. When we had everything with George Floyd, they were getting things, at that time, and they give it out to everyone in Palm Beach County, all the different agencies, and then they made it easy in regards to request any additional resources.
So I'm going to take it to mean that they're aware of the elevated risk and they're, addressing it appropriately then. Okay, thank you, Chief.
Any other questions?
We got a new officer.
Yes, sir.
And I haven't met him yet, but I'm looking forward to meeting him.
He started this week, Monday, James Buckland. He was 27 and a half years at PBSO, deputy sheriff and a year and a half at Jupiter Inlet Colony, part-time.
Okay, I don't have anything. Thank you, Chief. And Chief Chu's not here, so we'll go on to utilities. Mr. Hammond? Any questions for Mr. Hammond? I will say, and I know I mentioned it earlier this week, I was excited to see the cross-control connection compliance go up like you said it was last month, so it's nice to see that start to go up.
We're bouncing back up.
Okay.
If I can just make one point, and I think he can probably touch on, speak to the technical part of it, but, I think well 4 is back up. That was a well that was put in 10+ years ago, never worked from the beginning. We didn't have a utility director to Matt's stature, and so he was able to rehab that along with another project to help save us some money, and now that well is operational. A $1 million well, I think we put in about $100,000 to rehab it, give or take. He can speak to that, but kudos to Matt and his team for doing that, and just a resource for the village with water. So,
Done a great job.
Might be a silly question, but are all our wells operational?
As of this past week, yes.
Fair enough.
And all of the temporary piping has been removed from our neighbors, Good Shepherd. They were extremely good to work with over the last several months. And so we've got that out, wrapping up the temporary piping over here, moving on to well 2, and keep moving forward.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to the regular agenda, old business, item number 10, ordinance 05-22, second reading.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 0522, an ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of Chapter 38, Impact Fees, Sections 38, 38, 68, and 98, to update impact fee payment requirements in accordance with recent changes to state law, providing that each and every other section, subsection of Chapter 38 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify effective date and for other purposes. This is second reading. It's fairly housekeeping in nature. Recent change to state law requires us to allow the payment of impact fees instead of before the building permit is issued, up to 10 days after the building permit is issued, and then it provides an enforcement mechanism as well. This conforms our code to state law.
Thank you. Council comments? Nope. Any public comment? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to item number 11, ordinance 06-22, second reading.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 0622, an ordinance of the Village Council, the Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of Chapter 62, Planning and Development, Article 5, Development Agreements, Section 62-156, amendment or cancellation to update instances where development agreements can be amended or canceled in accordance with state law, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 62 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. This is also second reading, and this is also an ordinance that is basically housekeeping in nature. It conforms our code, again, to recent changes in state law, and essentially says that if there was a developer's agreement entered into in the past, now a party to that agreement and the village can amend or terminate the agreement as to themselves, as long as without getting consent of any other parcel owners that are also party to the agreement, unless it has a direct impact on their interests as well. So again, this conforms our code to recent changes to state law.
Thank you. Any council comment? Any public comment? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to new business, SPR 1-22, site plan application from Tam West Realty for Starbucks.
And Mayor, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. With your permission, I can dispense with the preliminary matters.
Yes, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The current agenda item is a quasi-judicial proceeding. What that means, among other things, is that if you're going to be offering testimony to the council, your testimony needs to be under oath.
Therefore, I need to swear you in if you're going to be offering testimony to the council. If you fall into that category of person, if you'll please stand, raise your right hand. Each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony to the village council this evening will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. You can have a seat, and I need to come back to the council. If any of you have had any ex parte discussions regarding this item, done any site visits, consulted with any experts on your own, anything of that nature, those activities would need to be disclosed for the record at this time.
I visited the site and also talked to business owners in the area.
I visited the site.
No discussions.
Since our last meeting, I picked up Domino's.
Okay.
It's right there. So I might stare at that parking lot and literally visualize their new building coming, if that counts as a site visit.
Nothing for me. All right, then with those disclosures and the swearing in, Mayor, we can proceed with this item.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council members, the application in front of you is a site plan review. As you are aware, this was a special exception use that came in front of council. Then the site plan review process was initiated. The development review committee reviewed the project. The DRC is consists of building, traffic engineering, utilities, civil engineering, planning, landscaping. So all that committee reviewed this project. Also, this was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board, the site plan review, which recommended approval 5-0 to move forward to the council. So this is to build a 2,544 square foot Starbucks with a drive-through in the C2 zoning district. The application includes landscaping plan, wall signs, also other type of signs. And the property is located on the County Line Plaza. As part of the village team, we have with us Mr. John King. He's a traffic engineer, and also the applicant has a PowerPoint presentation that he would like to proceed.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Let's see if I can get this straight this time. Backwards is forwards. For the record, I'm Troy Holloway with 2GHO, and we're here tonight on behalf of the Starbucks Coffee Company. As Nelson mentioned, we're here tonight requesting a use by right site plan approval to allow us for a 2,544 square foot fast food restaurant with a 385 square foot outdoor seating area on a vacant parcel located at the existing County Line Plaza. This is the County Line Plaza. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. The aerial just kind of really shows the vastness of the overall commercial parcel. Our piece, the out parcel, which is a leased out parcel, is in the southeast corner there in the bottom right. County Line Plaza does have 5 ingress-egress points, 2 on US Highway 1, 3 of those on Village Boulevard, which does provide ingress and egress at some point to the out parcel itself. This is an enlargement of that out parcel. It does show that currently there's an existing bank. All the infrastructure, parking, everything is there. It looks operational, but it currently is not. This is the south ingress-egress from Village Boulevard, closest to the out parcel there on the southwest corner. Then we also have the closest ingress-egress point there in US Highway 1, which is abutting the north side of that out parcel. As I mentioned, it's an existing bank. It does have an existing drive-through, which is located there at the very corner. The drive-through does enter there from Village Boulevard on the south end, go through the drive-through, then exit north through the property there along US Highway 1. This subject building was constructed in 1988. It was occupied by Seacoast Bank sometime until 2017. It has remained inactive in those 5 years since the bank's closing. It has been for lease in that overall time until Starbucks came along. Village Council, you all did approve a special exception for this for fast food restaurant last month in May. This is the proposed site plan for the out parcel itself. As you can see, it's very similar to the existing site. other than essentially just, we set the building to the south, we moved the building north and taken the parking from the north and pushed it to the south. We've done that in order to extend the drive-through as long as possible. Again, we have the two access points, one on Village Boulevard and one on US Highway 1 that remain as they are today. That is the proposed drive-through location. At that point, it is a double drive-through. The entrance is exactly the same location it is currently today. You'll come in along the south side and you'll drive up along US Highway 1 up to the drive-through itself. And again, the whole point of that is to create as much stacking as possible. This does have an 18-car stacking. It's the longest stacking length for a Starbucks in Palm Beach County. So they just really want to make sure they don't have the problems that they have at the Jupiter location, which they're stacking out onto Uniontown Road. We also have a very long pass-through lane with this drive-through as well. So people can, if they get stuck in that line, they can easily get out. That is the covered dining location there on the north end of the building. It's 385 square feet, which would provide people the ability to eat outside as well. The main entry for this is on the west side, as well as all the parking. Again, that is just to kind of keep the main entry and all the parking and all pedestrian connections and activity kind of contiguous and facing the existing retail and shops and restaurants of County Line Plaza. It's the safest means in doing so. We're also providing a new pedestrian connection that is not currently in this location. This will provide patrons and pedestrians from Starbucks as well as County Line Plaza to get out to US Highway 1. We'll also provide the ability for the patrons from Starbucks to cross over to County Line Plaza safely, and it will connect as well to Village Boulevard. That connection currently exists today there at the Village Boulevard. Just some quick bullet points on the site data. It is a commercial land use there. It is C2, which is your community commercial district here in the village. We are proposing a one-story, 2,544 square foot building with 385 square feet of outdoor seating. 25% of open space is required. We're providing 36% within the out parcel there. And 29 spaces are required. We're providing 33. These are the elevations. So the top one is the west elevation facing the commercial center. The bottom one is the north elevation. The building is only 16 feet to the top of the parapet, the very top of the parapet, so it's a very inconspicuous kind of short building. They've utilized soft earth tone colors to be compatible with the surrounding architecture of County Line Plaza and then also the buildings to the south. Completely screened rooftop mechanical equipment will be completely hidden from view. The brown colors there is a simulated wood panel siding. They call it a cedar color. I think there's a sample board there in front. I think that also set up for you. It is made out of a high performance fibrous cement, so it's very long lasting. That gives it a nice warm color. We've got the covered dining area there on the north to the left hand side. They've also then utilized a warm gray stucco finish along the top of the structure as well. And around the building, the awnings and the trim will all be a flat black metal for the canopy and trim. The last two elevations here, again, it's the flat black metal canopy, which there's canopy above the west door, the outdoor seating, the rear facing door, and then also over the drive-through. And they have a dark beige stucco finish, which will be around to kind of highlight the pickup window there as well. And again, the covered dining area will be at that location. This is a 3D of the building itself. I apologize for the seating there shown along the facade. That will not be there. That was done today by the architects, and they didn't have time to remove all that. That will not be there. But then you can see the black awning, the black trim, the gray stucco at the top, and then you can see a little bit of the brown simulated wood paneling there at the back. And then we've just, it was quite heavy, but the landscape plan for this is heavy. This is that same elevation with our landscape plan highlighted and superposed onto that elevation. That's probably a 5-year growth, but that is from the plan, so it's not the architect's rendition of that. And then this is just a different view kind of from the back of that same west elevation. It has a lot more of that simulated wood paneling. There's even more of it on the south and also on the east side, which is even more of that as well. And again, that's the main entry into the store from that point. And then we've simulated, again, the proposed landscaping on top of that, which it's very heavy landscaping, which should look very nice. Starbucks is very involved in the communities that they are located in. Their mission is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. This location will likely hire 35 to 40 local employees, several employees from the Jupiter store who are Tequesta residents who will help open this store and will be training the new employees here. Starbucks supports the local schools from elementary to high school for events and teacher appreciation days. They have donated to JTA concession stands for tournaments, as well as provided gift baskets for raffles. They support and sponsor coffee with the COP events. They have volunteered and have provided coffee and supplies to a number of additional local organizations and/or local offices or chapters of national organizations such as Furry Friends Rescue, Loggerhead Marine Life Center, Honor Flight, Wounded Warriors, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Freedom Coast Ride, and many, many others as well. So in conclusion, the subject property did receive a special exception approval for a fast food restaurant last month. It received unanimous approval from the P&Z board. Redevelops a currently vacant building and outparcel, expanding the village tax base. It maintains consistency with the village comprehensive plan, meets the purpose of the C2 zoning district and all applicable development regulations in the village's zoning code. It ensures complete compatibility with the existing built community and shopping center, and it meets all adopted levels of service in Palm Beach County's traffic performance standards. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, council, any comments or questions?
And do you want me to go first?
I have none. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for sending what you showed us last meeting, because you had the architectural aerial draw outlines for the parking lot.
Yes.
You know, I find it interesting, usually when we have someone come in, they take over a building, there's a lot of elements that are already meeting the code because that building exists already. So the fact that you guys are removing that existing building and making a whole new building, this is basically an entirely new project. You're not necessarily taking over the Seacoast Bank. I did, for myself personally, I did request computer models, which you have shown us tonight. And I believe all of us on council received those two images just mere couple hours ago.
Yes, without the landscape.
Yes, so the landscaping is great. I think it's beautiful. My personal issue is I don't like the inconsistency that our voting boards are not getting the same exact material. So our P&Z meeting, which I listened to, I don't think it's fair to them. They didn't have all this information. Plus there was one key code element that they completely missed, and I have an issue with that. The other issue I have with the harmony of that building fitting in with the shopping center, which we don't have a rendering of the viewpoint from US 1. You gave us the front, the side, and you just now showed us the back. But there's no rendering, not even a drawing, of the landscaping that's gonna be buffering that solid wall on the east side of the building. For me, I think it's a little tacky that that entire side of the building just has a takeout window, and that's it. I don't foresee you could put landscaping up against the building, because obviously you have cars going right there. But we weren't even shown or presented with your landscape options that you would put after the parking lot ends. Does that make sense?
Well, we do have on the landscape plan, and we just didn't have time, unfortunately, to do, because we were just asking.
And that is unfortunate. So for me,
Yes.
I need all that material to make an, a very good decision for our village.
What we do have on the landscape plan, which we do show, which is east of the building in the buffer between the building and US 1. Currently, that's a 20-foot existing utility easement. It's a Seacoast, not Seacoast, Encon easement. So we are, though, removing the entire Ligustrum hedge, which is out there today along Village, all up along US 1. And that is shown on the landscape plan. Because that's just an old hedge. I mean, it's really not going to probably do too much better. We've shown it to be replaced with cocoa plum, which is a native hedge. You know, I mean, that, it is native, it grows fairly quickly. I mean, we could always put in, instead of the cocoa plum, we could do a pitch apple. I mean, if you're concerned about really screening the building from US 1, which will also screen the shopping center from US 1, but.
Right, and that's actually my point, is that's a very delicate balance, because you want to market your business and the business behind you as well. So that's why I was asking, where was your presentation of what you guys would be putting there with a computer model showing it against the building in that area against the shopping center? Secondly, I wanted to request from you guys something else on that wall on the east side, because again, just the takeout window is not appealing. I appreciate the wood elements that you guys are going for. I like that they're durable, because you are going to be closer to the ocean and salty air. I would like to see something else added to that wall to break it up a little bit. Secondly, there is a part of the code, it's element number 9, takeout and pickup windows. Takeout or pickup windows of retail or wholesale establishments shall not be located on a building facade that faces a public right-of-way unless they are designed in such a manner as to be aesthetic asset to the building and the neighborhood. And P&Z did not discuss that, and I don't know if they missed it or if they just didn't want to address it or discuss it. So I wanted to ask our team to maybe clarify why that was not addressed, since it's in the code.
Yes, that specific section is from section 22-82, general requirements relative to site plan review. So, and that is number 9, but belongs to this section. This specific land is located on the C2 district. So the C2 zoning district has one specific requirement. This is chapter 78 zoning, the C2, and this is just section 22. So these are general requirements that talk about harmony, facade, methods of harmonious design, exterior lighting. However, the section, the zoning requests that C2, restaurant, fast food, subject to the following conditions. A bypass traffic lane shall be provided if a one-way traffic flow pattern is utilized in the parking lot design. So basically, this site, to accommodate this bypass traffic, it was needing to be designed in this way. The applicant wanted to put that over there, so accommodate the bypass, and also the applicant requested to accommodate the 18 queuing for the cars. So in this case, C2, the zoning district, is very specific, and these are general requirements.
Okay.
So in your opinion, it meets our code?
In my opinion, in this case, it was requesting, to accommodate the, the bypass. So that was an option, and if they wanted to have the longest queuing, it has to be in that side. Otherwise, at some point, at the beginning of this project, I requested to the applicant, please, can you flip the building? Can you put the drive-through on the other side and the queuing also on the other side? And that was very specific. No, we cannot do that in order to accommodate the bypass and the drive-through. So there was a lot of back and forth at the beginning of this review.
I mean, thank you for your clarification, but the fact that we even have it written, for me, that's a good point. So I'm going to stick with the fact that it's written and it should have been considered by P&Z. I would actually support you guys going back to P&Z with everything that everyone is getting consistently, with the additions of changing the east wall a little bit and adding another rendering with your landscape visuals so you can see what it would look like from US 1. And then the other one was the dumpster. I see the grate. Was there landscape plans to go around the wall, or are we just going to leave it a concrete wall?
No, it's fully landscaped.
Okay. Well, again, that wasn't in there as well.
And then there also is landscaping shown on the plan along the drive-through as well. There's a hedge with ground covers along, even against the building itself, in addition. And I'm not sure on your question too, on your comment, what, only thing that the P&Z did not have is these renderings that were done today, the 3D. Is that what you're referring to as far as what P&Z?
Yeah, like actual visuals, and it just surprised me because the last several projects that we've had come through were so thorough. They had every angle covered, every street viewpoint covered, aerials, which you do have with the drawings, so we can see the parking lot and the street and the sizes of the parking spaces and the flow and all that. There was just a lot missing from you guys, I think.
I'm confused also. So that on the east side is what you're talking about? Are you saying you would like to see a different color? What are you asking for?
I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like, other than the drawing that they have, which is a pretty
But
standard
you're saying you don't like
Starbucks
the drawing, so what would you add to it?
I'm confused because our drawings are in our plan that we have, the 134 pages that they
Right, and
provided.
it's a drawing, but the drawing looks a lot different than the actual picture that he sent.
Do we require that we have architectural visual drawings?
So I just want to make sure that we actually know what we're going to be getting. That's all.
It's right there in the plans.
I disagree.
It lists each individual tree and everything.
I disagree. I mean, for me, half of it's there, and the fact that we got that half mere hours ago, and P&Z didn't get to see that. I just think the inconsistency is not appreciated.
No, I'm fine with it.
I'll have to say that, with the new building coming in, personally, I think it is increasing the aesthetics of the area. And I think you guys have done a good job of that process, of maybe hopefully raising the level a little bit for that shopping center. And I look forward to seeing that being add-on, so thank you.
I have several questions. I'd like to start with the traffic. I've read that there's like 2 traffic letters. There's one from our traffic engineer. There's the one from the county. There's one from Pinder, which I understand I think is a developer's engineer. So to me, it wasn't clear that Village Boulevard was not impacted to where you had to do anything on there. And I seemed to found deficiencies on Dixie and US 1, so I wasn't sure why those were even referenced. So could you maybe lay that all out for us?
I'll try. My name is John Kim. I'm with McMahon Associates, Inc. I did.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, I looked right at you.
Good,
I'm
thank
for
you.
it. With offices at 2090 Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, West Palm Beach, Florida. I think I understand your concern, and I can confirm that there are, in fact, some deficiencies at certain intersections or roadways. But, however, because of the Florida state statute requirements for land development, specifically concurrency, what happens is, in cases where they don't cause the road to fail or the intersection to fail, in other words, let's say the intersection of Tequesta and US 1 is failing now, right now. If I come in with something, no matter how large or small, and I'm forced to analyze that intersection, and I make it worse by 10 seconds, 100 seconds, the fact of the matter is, because it's already a deficient facility operating below acceptable levels of service, I can't compel or require the applicant to fix it, to even pay the proportionate share technically, because the way the state looks at it now, and it's not the way it used to be, but the way the state looks at it now is saying, listen, that deficiency is really the responsibility of the maintaining agency, whether it's the state, county, or city. Now, if that facility were operating okay, within an acceptable level of service, and then they came in and just made it go beyond its acceptable level of service, that would be different. Then they would have to mitigate in some way. But because, and I want to make sure this is clear, it's confusing when you see a report that says, hey, this is operating beyond capacity, this is operating beyond capacity. It's true, but they're not causing the deficiency, and that is a very important distinction when it comes to the Florida state statute. So you are correct, there are some deficiencies, they noted in their report, but they also say, hey, by Florida state statute, I think it's 163.318, I can't be responsible for improving it because it's already deficient. As a matter of fact, I think in at least one, if not all the cases, the deficiency is right now. So that's hopefully that explains why you caught some deficiencies in the report, and we're standing behind the applicant's analysis in a fashion.
That was helpful, thank you.
I
guess that this is probably for another conversation, but if we keep adding projects on US 1 and it's deficient, when does that become a problem and someone does have to fix it?
It is. Now, there is something called de minimis, which is kind of shady when you read it in the Florida statutes. There is sometimes an understanding that the accumulation of all these projects that impact the road are just going to make it worse and worse and worse. I can only say that most maintaining agencies, especially Palm Beach County, they do evaluate, arterial corridors like US 1 and Old Dixie, and they do try to optimize the timing. I think they even now use pretty up-to-date coordination programs. I don't remember the names, but we understand that yes, there are going to be cases where incrementally it's going to increase, but in reality, depending on how close you are to the intersection it's failing, it's kind of hard to say how much of an impact each one of those is going to have. And with retail, frankly, a lot of their traffic is passed by. And I gave like a training course this morning, and we went over something called pass by. So in this particular case, you're going to have quite a significant amount of traffic that's not going to be on US 1 or even Village because of the Starbucks. They're going to be on their way to work, on their way to work out. You understand, it's not going to be their destination of their ultimate destination. So in this particular case, that would be more true, I think, of a residential development. With retail, it's a lot less than what the report's saying because the pass-by is significant. I don't know if that helps at all, and I know...
They were on their way anyway.
Correct. Yeah. And I know it's not answering your question because there will be some projects that are, let's say, a 200-unit residential development. That's going to probably argue the same cause. Listen, it's already failing, and I'm putting another 50 trips to it, but all I can say is I know that this agency in particular, Palm Beach County, I know that they evaluate their intersections and their corridors, I think annually, if not twice a year. So they do their best to try to improve the coordination because whenever you put another project on there, you have to kind of adjust the signal timing because now when you put X number of units of residential, you know you're going to have to optimize the timing a little bit and hopefully at best maintain the delay you already have. The goal is not to increase it. Kind of hard to make it better, but the idea is to try and get the progression such that you don't notice it too much. Okay. I hope I answered your question. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. And then otherwise on Village Boulevard, I think to close loop on that, the queuing studies, and I mean that determined there's going to be no backup on Village Boulevard.
Right, and we were very, and they weren't very happy with us for asking it because they come in saying, listen, it's 18 cars, and that is a lot from my experience. I've done analyses for Starbucks and drive-thrus. 18's a lot, but we still wanted to be able to come to you and say, we made them look at two sites on arterial roads, something similar, not something on a side street. And I think the max queue they observed there was maybe 13, 14. So 18 should be ample. They thought it was overkill, but we were like, listen, we want to be able to tell you we have empirical data. We didn't have them use an equation and spit out a number. This is actually observed lengths of queues for Starbucks. So I'm hoping that helped give some peace of mind with the queuing, because that's always an issue with coffees.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had a couple other questions. I noticed that it doesn't appear that there's a fire line required for the building, so I just want to make sure that a restaurant, fast food, doesn't require a sprinkler system.
It does not. This particular building does not. If you want to get technical, I can have Jose can answer that question because he has looked into that, but it does not require it.
Were you sworn in?
I can.
I didn't
speak. Jose, can you repeat everything I said so that way?
What's your question again? I'm sorry.
So I noticed when the civil engineer's letter is that no fire lines required for a building, and I wasn't clear for code. It was surprising me if something classified as a restaurant fast food didn't require a sprinkler system.
That's correct.
Okay, is there a reason? Is it the square footage of the building?
So fire code determines what is required in the building. So different uses, different requirements.
Okay. And then while you're up here, I noticed on the erosion and sediment control plan, they have their truck entrance, their construction entrance it's on the west side of the property. Do we require any kind of construction truck route plan to be approved? Because where are they? Can they come in from Dixie and Village and US 1? Because it's going to impact that area and that plaza.
There's no specific requirement for that. For the construction site, they say, okay, you have to treat the material on this side or the streets or the other. There's not such a requirement.
Okay, I do just have a little concern with, there's several active projects on US 1, and then that one's just at a prime location, and trucks can come from several different routes, so it concerns me a little bit from a safety standpoint. You know, the dirt trucks, material deliveries, concrete trucks.
Yeah, PD enforce the traffic on the road, so I'm sure if there's any issue that we wouldn't do that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then lastly, I'm gonna talk about aesthetics like Lori did. So I always have section 22-82 saved in my favorites. I reference it for every site plan, and it does talk about harmony with other buildings, harmony with surroundings, facades. Lori brought up the takeout window. So I just, first I do want to say I do believe that different elevations were originally submitted and are through the DRC process, they pushed back saying there's no way they're going to approve these. So I want to make sure people realize that the hard work that our DRC team does put in ahead of time and does reject things and say there's no way this is going to fly. So that process had happened already. So this is, I think, round 2 of what they came up with. But I don't think that this building is in harmony with the rest of the area. I mean, there are a couple properties that pop in my mind. There's a Starbucks in Lake Worth Beach, which aesthetically is a lot more pleasing. It fits in the area. It's pulled up to US 1, and the drive-through is in the back. And everything we're working with Treasure Coast Regional Planning right now, we're trying to beautify the village, and we're going that route to make everything more harmonious. And I just don't think the facade and the building placement fits at the location. I do agree it's an improvement from the building that's there now. I don't disagree with that, but I just don't think it's a good fit, and I think you guys could revisit, look at some other Starbucks in the areas, and do better on the aesthetics that will fit the area. And I would really highly suggest moving it up and hiding the drive-through. And I've heard you said, no, we can't do that. In my world, I don't take no for an answer. I need to see it on a plan that you cannot do a drive-through and a bypass behind the building. So I would like to actually see it on a plan that doesn't work, to have it behind. Because I keep hearing about the 18Q, and the studies show that it would maybe be a 13Q max. And I don't want to necessarily suggest shortening the queue and causing a traffic backup then, but you have studies that say you don't need an 18-car queue as well. So I think that you guys could do better on the aesthetics and make it fit the village a little more.
Well, Molly, you just said something that confused me. The drive-through and the pass-through lane is in the back of the building, and it faces US 1, and it's going to, as I understand, it's going to be heavily landscaped between US 1 and where that drive-through is going to be located. So when you say, I don't know what you're trying to get. I don't know what you're saying. Where it is now seems to me to be the perfect location because it's screened, it's easily accessible, they've got the pass-through, and they can move the traffic through quickly and easily. And, you know, and you've got the adequate parking. So again, I'm a little confused as to what you're saying.
Well, Lori already referenced the takeout and pickup windows, that it's not supposed to face the public right away. And if you remember from our work in progress presentation from Treasure Coast Regional, a lot of it was to have the building facades on facing the right of way and the parking hidden. And I mean, you look like the Maserati building, they did that, right? They have the buildings at the US 1 and they hid the parking in the back, so you don't see the parking. And it's more inviting. You get people walk in from the sidewalk and can walk right up and sit down, and it's just a more inviting atmosphere for keeping our small, quaint village more of a community than this fast food drive-through place.
If you put the parking in the back, like you're saying, then people who park would have to walk through the drive-through to get into the building.
Well, Lake Worth Beach has it like that.
Not if you reverse it, though. What Nielsa said sounded like she already initially asked them to flip-flop it, and they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, but when you're driving into that particular shopping center, this is what you're gonna see. I had it up here. The image you want the front of that building, or what is perceived to be the front, facing toward the shopping center, because that's where people are driving in, whether they're parking at Rancho Chico, the ice cream store. There's already parking there, okay? So this is not the same situation as a US 1 situation where we're trying to move the building forward for, I think, for very legitimate reasons. This is a different scenario. It's in a shopping center. You've got a building that already exists. You want the front of that building to be, you know, when you come in, you want it facing inward towards the shopping center. And what you want to do is you want to have your pass-through and your drive-through on the backside where you can landscape it, so it's basically more or less invisible.
But I want to make a quick note about landscaping on that right away. It can't be humongous because you're going to make a blind side. And then you're going to take away from everything else that's behind that landscaping. That's a horrible marketing idea. You want to have it a mixture of being accessible and visible. Otherwise, people would drive right by it and just think it's a landscape buffer. So you're totally going to see it.
I'm not saying you're going to hide the building completely, but if you were concerned about seeing the traffic and seeing the cars roll through, you said the building's only, what, 16 feet tall at its tallest point?
Yes.
I mean, I think you can put landscaping in there that basically shields that traffic if that's what you're trying to accomplish. You still have some visibility to the building, but when I drive into that shopping center, I want to, that's the picture I want to see. I want to see that picture when I come in. Like I said, you've got a shopping center, on either side there's already parking, and you've already got parking in front of all the storefronts. I think this is a tremendous upgrade from what currently exists.
If I could just, on the drive-through location, I mean, it's very tough when you have drive-throughs with any kind of use. I mean, we did look at multiple different concepts with this, and the tough part is, which I'm sorry, Councilor Johnson mentioned, is when you flip the building with the drive-through, you always, and I know it's always an issue with the drive-through facing the outside, but you don't want the drive-through on the inside here, because then if you have, having pedestrians cross those drive-throughs is extremely dangerous. Matter of fact, Starbucks just had a $9 million lawsuit awarded, I think in Jacksonville, for that very same reason somebody stepped into the drive-through lane. So for the most part, definitely pedestrian traffic, and also you don't want crossing vehicular traffic as well. So it's always the best solution is to try to get the drive-through away from everything so you don't have crossing pedestrians, crossing vehicular use. It's really just the safety and ease and function of it. And I know it's not always the most desirable. A lot of municipalities don't like the drive-throughs facing the road, and it's very tough, especially when you're given a site that's very linear. We can't turn the building east-west. It's kind of has to be oriented north-south. So it was very difficult site. I mean, the smaller they are, sometimes the harder they are. So.
Yeah, again, I would just like to see it laid out on paper that you can't achieve what we're asking for, and I don't think this aligns with the vision that we're working on. And regardless of if you're not able to move the building, I still don't think aesthetically it fits in. And like I said, Lake Worth is a really good example, I think, of something that it fits better in the community. And I know there's one off Okeechobee that aesthetically, like that in my head, is a little bit better and fits the bill along US 1 here in Tequesta. So I think aesthetically, regardless of if you look at the plan and try to rework to put the drive-through in the back, that aesthetically is still a miss for me. If that's all I have. Any other council comments?
No.
Okay, any public comment?
How about Kirsten Millen, St. Clair?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Kirsten Millen St. Clair. I'm a team member at Oceana Coffee here in Tequesta. We have 2 locations here in the village. I am here to speak tonight on behalf of Amy Angelo, who is unable to be here. As this project has already had its use approved, the focus now needs to be making sure the code is, as it is written now, is followed. We already have one example of a formula restaurant in the village that has been allowed to make their building appear as an entire sign, the Dunkin' in the same plaza. The code states that no symbols are allowed to be used. I would like to see this rule upheld. Formula restaurants with a drive-through can only have frontage on one road, and the pickup window must not face the main highway. Please uphold this standard. As council members and the Planning and Zoning Committee makes this decision, the business community is relying on you to make sure the codes and rules are upheld and not changed to give an unfair advantage to corporate formula restaurants. Until the code can be reviewed with the opportunity of keeping future formula restaurants at bay, please at the very least uphold the current code in order to safeguard the small town charm of our small village. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? Okay. So council, can I get a motion?
I'm going to
on
make a
that?
motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Opposed.
Based on aesthetics. I would have liked to see those reworked. Okay. Moving on, agenda item 13, the Tequesta Parks Master Plan Final Report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm extremely happy to present to you the final report for the Parks Master Plan. It took 6 months to prepare this master plan because we have ample participation from the community. There was numerous opportunities to voice their opinion, and we listened, the project team listened to the community and prepared this Parks Master Plan. I have only 4 slides that I would like to share, please.
Oh, you want to do the presentation? PowerPoint? That's right.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, as you recall, there was a workshop where I went one by one. So, and we have some comments. So, this is all our existing parks. And again, the process started in October 2021. And we just wrapped it up not too long ago. This was the rendering that was presented at the workshop in May. And this is also the rendering that was presented in May. So we gathered a comment with regard to the Tequesta Park to relocate the playground. So let me just, so this is the final rendering for Remembrance Park. And this is the final rendering for Tequesta Park. The playground was relocated a little bit more north, farther from the parking lot, so more centrally located, and that is what is on the report that you have in front of you. So if you have any question with regard to the report, you know, the report is on the website, has 5 chapters that reflects all the process, all the drawings. So if you have any question, there is also final remarks part of the report. Please let me know if you have questions.
Any council comments or questions?
Not really anything pertaining to this, but just what is the plan from here? To advertise this and just show them it's on our plan for start trying to budget for it? What is the plan now?
So we'll use this document for future planning. So if we, like our pavilion that's you know, under consideration that we have out in the park right now that needs to be tore down, you know, in most cases, would we spend money to build that when it's not going to be in our future plan? It gives us a tool for future maintenance, future projects to make sure that we're abiding by our plan. It also gives us an opportunity to submit for grants. I know this past year we went through the state. We'll be able to do that and do that with a plan that I think we all can agree on, assuming it passes tonight, would be the appropriate ask from the state. And so it allows us to do that. And, you know, like I said, we'll be able to plan capital projects as well in the future, you know, as money permits.
Awesome. So that's kind of my point is, so now that we've worked with our residents and they spent time with us on it, are we gonna put it out there at some point and say, thank you, this is what we've come up with, and council has, whether we vote on it tonight or not, you know, this is what we decide on, and at least give them the final, here it is, so we don't leave them hanging. I just don't want them left hanging.
Yep.
Okay. And a little bit of that with it, so they understand we're gonna be using that plan for like trying to get money, and we'll budget for it here and there, and anytime we have to start replacing something, we have a plan of whether or not to do it or not.
I think there's quite a bit of language in there that's provided,
Yes.
that's in there.
On page 84.
Yeah.
But something
We'll bring that to the front, though.
On page 84, we have next steps.
Yeah.
That's my point, make it very
Yeah,
simple
I hear you.
and quick read, so
Yeah.
people don't have to spend too much time, they just wanna see it, they're excited, they wanna see it.
Like maybe just do like a high-level summary on the
We
one
can do,
page.
we
and then
can do
have the
a
link.
summary, yes.
Yeah, I mean, if they're excited, I just want to show them what they just worked hard at.
Yep.
It's for them, so. Okay.
Will do.
Do you have a
So
comment?
I'd like to throw something else out there, since we're talking about how we move this thing forward. Obviously, as we know, we try to get the study appropriation, there are grants available. That parcel of land is technically part of the Jonathan Dixon Park, but it's separated by Jupiter Hills Golf Course, so it's kind of isolated unto itself. Just food for thought, maybe we can discuss it at a workshop, but I think another alternative would be to go to the state and see if we can get an agreement for them to deed that land to us rather than lease it for the $1 a year that we currently pay. I've been approached again by a few people in the community who've said there are individuals who they believe that would be very willing to donate money to a revitalization of that park if, in fact, it was owned by Tequesta versus being part of the state system. So, I know there would be a lot of particulars we'd have to look at in that regard. I don't know if Keith has any thoughts on this, but I'd like to at least suggest that we consider that as a second alternative to pursue as well, and see if that could become a viable pathway in addition to what we've already talked about in the past.
Well, I think some of those, and I brought this up at the workshop, there's several funding options in the comp plan of what we are, directing us what to do for funding. And I do think like a private partnership was one of those too. So I do know the funding portion of this, I think, did make it on the strategic initiative. So I think like that, all of those recommendations for potential funding sources need to be analyzed, and it's on our initiative. So that's what
Yeah.
staff should be
So the
doing.
added element here would be, again, to see if we could get the state to actually grant ownership of that land directly to Tequesta, because I think people in the community would feel better if they know that whatever money's being invested, whether it's through donations, through grants, through whatever we generate, through the village itself, if it was going into something that we actually had ownership of. I know Mark Zateri at a prior meeting said, well, we shouldn't count Tequesta Park because it's leased, not owned. This would be one way of, kind of addressing that. Just, again, something for us to think about and perhaps look at maybe some of the particulars as we go forward.
Is there still any
I was
comments?
going to say, just great job. Very proud to be part of this project and glad we got something on paper to help us lead us forward, so thank you.
Thank you so
I'll
much
second
for
that.
every input. This was a long process, and each of you always reach out to me and provided your opinions. Please look at this, look at that other side or other park. So we gather all of that, and this is the document that, reflect that.
It's a great tool for us to have now. I did one more question. I talked about the funding already, and that's in our initiatives. What about, I know we talked about prioritizing the, basically the whole recreation and open space section from our comp plan. I believe that maybe was on the EAC agenda, so they're doing that for us? Okay. So, and then there was also, another additional recommendation was like the multi-use trail system plan. I don't know if that's something else we would task the EAC with to look at that as well, under the additional recommendations.
Well, that's also part of the report. We have the additional recommendation, and it will be up to the council to provide us guidance with regard to that. We as the technical staff, we make recommendations, and then we listen.
Yeah, if they're willing to take it on, I think if EAC could look at the multi-use trail system plan that you referenced in your recommendations too, that'd be nice. And yeah, otherwise, great work. It's really exciting to have this tool for us to reference and use going forward. All right, and then any public comment? No? All right, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to item agenda 14, work authorization for Kimley Horn for Remembrance Park.
So this item is to authorize the work. As you guys know, in the budget process, we allocated $75,000 for the construction plans of Remembrance Park. It was on hold until we approved a plan for the sake of I'll say expedience. We've approved the plan now, and so we want to put this on the agenda. Always the hope was to, get this plan, get the construction drawings, get a probable cost, and hopefully be able to start to really try to fit this in the budget or capital improvement plan over time. And so this is to authorize the work with Kimley Horn to provide a phase 1 for Remembrance Park, which we have budgeted for this year.
Are we using the grant money for this, Jeremy, or?
Not for this particular piece.
Okay.
There's $50,000 grant that we have to use before, I think, April. So once we can, hopefully get this plan in place and hopefully be able to plug that piece of the grant into, the capital project and be able to utilize that grant, we'll see the timing of that.
Okay.
$50,000 isn't going to get us much with that design.
Well, can we use the grant for this design?
No.
No, it has to be physical.
Grant.
Yeah.
Okay, any other council comments? Any public comment?
Marcia Nielsen, 94 Beechwood Trail. I'm delighted that the process of developing Remembrance Park is run. This is kind of my baby. As you recall, the park's name was suggested by Councilmember Jim Humphrich, who was instrumental in the 9/11 memorial. He had a special place in his heart for veterans. Going forward, I sincerely hope that the theme Remembrance of the park is carried out. Last month, we lost our beloved Eveline Bates, who was related to our first chief of police, and Tequesta Charlie, who dug all the holes for Royal Palms on Tequesta Drive by hand. She was also the historian for the Art Center. It is my sincere hope that I will one day be sitting on a bench with her name on it in Remembrance Park. This should be a park not just to remember those who are no longer with us, but those near and dear to us. Once the infrastructure is completed, ponder innovative ideas to carry out the theme. Consider a grove of trees planted one by one. When each new baby becomes our newest resident, we could call it the Children's Grove. As the tree grows, so do they. Now we have a dirt pile with potential of becoming a legacy. Let's work together, get people involved, especially neighbors in my neighborhood, Tequesta Pines, to make it more than just a passive park, but an active collage of our collective memories. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 15, ordinance 10-22. This is to amend the DRC notice process.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1022, an ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 78, zoning, Article 9, supplemental regulations, Division 2, site plan review, Section 78, 334, application and review process, to provide that Development Review Committee meetings are public meetings and to provide new on-site notice requirements for development applications, providing that each and every other section, subsection of Chapter 78 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. This is first reading. As the title indicates, this ordinance, as workshops by the council, codifies the public meeting character of DRC meetings, and it also provides requirements for on-site notice posters for PUDs, PRDs, variances, special exception, site plan review, provides the criteria for those posters, and this was at the direction of council through workshop.
Thank you. Council comment?
No.
I know P&Z or LPA had some comments on this. I don't think, were any changes made to this based off their comments, or was this the same ordinance that went to LPA?
Yeah, you're right. At the LPA, there were comments. They commented that, for example, the Palm Beach County put a QR code on the sites, a sign. So at this point, we are not proposing that, to put a QR code. I mean, that will be at the pleasure of this council. Most municipalities, they don't do that, but, technology is moving along, so Palm Beach County requests that. Then there was one of the other comments from the LPA was if the agenda and everything else is on the website, and yes, everything is always on the website, every application, that goes in front of the PNC or council is on the website. So to answer your question, nothing has been changed from the LPA to here.
Okay, thank you. And then, I can't remember if we got this answer at the workshop. Do other municipalities do a public DRC meeting, and do you have an example of ones that do? I'm still going back and forth on making that public.
I believe we had examples. I don't have.
I do recall because I was the one looking for the examples. So yes, we look at into Juno Beach, we look at into Jupiter, and also Palm Beach Gardens, how do they conduct the DRC. So basically, Juno Beach and Jupiter, they have they posted, but just on the Village Hall, you know, they don't do an advertising on the Palm Beach Post. They do not. None of them, they do that. So it is a public meeting, however, it's more technical in nature. That's what I talked with the staff from Juno, and Juno, North Palm Beach, and Jupiter. I talked with the staff. And most of the time, no, there is no residents that attend the meeting, but it is posted at the entrance. Like we have a bulletin board here, and that's where we are going to post the DRCs. You know, we are not going to advertise on the Palm Beach Post that there will be a DRC, but obviously we will record the DRC meetings, and that's the nature of being a public meeting.
And you'll advertise on the website?
Yes, on the website, and there will
board.
be on the poster here.
Okay, and then we still require add new notice like in the newspaper for projects too, right? That's not going away. Don't projects have to post something in a newspaper or do a local ad?
Yes, every meeting, planning and zoning meeting, or council meeting, when we have applicants, yes, the code requires 10 days advertising.
Okay, so that's still, I didn't see it in this ordinance, so I just, that's still, like, nothing with that's changing,
yes.
Okay.
And we
great.
also send the letters to the 300 radio property owners for special exception uses and for variances. So they do receive the written letter.
Okay. All right, any public comment? Okay, get a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, agenda item 16, ordinance number 09-22 for vacation rental.
Mayor, ordinance 0922, ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 78 zoning, Article 1 in general, Section 78-4 definitions, by creating a new definition for vacation rental to correspond with Village Code and applicable state law. Also amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 78 zoning by creating an entirely new Article 14, vacation rentals, to provide statutorily compliant regulations for the operation of vacation rentals in the Village of Tequesta, providing that each and every other section, subsection of Chapter 78 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify an effective date, and for other purposes. This is first reading.
Thank you. Any council comments? Can you remind me where we landed with the age?
Yeah.
Because I know we talked about, sorry, Councilmember Johnson, did you have something to say?
I was just reading the summary. So the summary says that this is the revised form that we talked about. What's been revised?
There is no statutory or other legal requirement in terms of the age of the responsible party. Obviously, you would want it to be an adult, but in terms of 18 versus 21,
Okay.
or there is no, that would be within your discretion. On first reading, it continues to say 18. If the council wanted to amend that, we could make that change tonight, and that would carry forward to second reading at your discretion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that was one of my comments last time is would we want to bump it up to maybe 21? And then the other comments I had last time, Jose's addressed with any, like, pool has to be brought up to code, and anything that's not per code would need to be brought up to code?
This document that's before you tonight has been vetted through the manager's office and the building department. We did make some edits from what was originally workshopped to make it manageable, in the opinion of the building official, in terms of handling the application and registration process as well as the enforcement process. So that has been fully reviewed and in its current form conforms to the requests and requirements through the building department.
Okay. Yeah, my only comment is the age. I don't know if anyone else wants to entertain raising the age, or if everyone's good with 18 for the emergency contact.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with bumping it to 21, but I'm not dead set on it either.
So that would be the 18, so the age that we're talking about would be the designated person
Who's responsible.
in charge.
And they have to be an hour away, within an hour.
However, if we put the age in here, it doesn't mean the landlord can't require somebody to be older, correct? Correct.
Yeah, the property owner may serve in
The
this
property
capacity.
owner has the ability to set a different age. This is only the minimum.
Yeah, I like 18. If I'm the property owner and I'm going on vacation and my son or daughter who are 18 years old and want to watch over the place for me, I'm fine with that.
Okay. That's kind of why I'm been on the fence with it. I can kind of go either way. I mean, hopefully it's not an issue.
Okay, we'll leave it at 18. All right, any public comment? Mr. Bradford?
I wasn't planning on speaking, but I can assure you, when I was 18 and my parents went out of town, I could have burned down the house, so I'm just letting you know.
Thank you.
Well, so they would have gotten somebody else who was older than you.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 17, ordinance number 12-22. This is for the charter amendment.
Okay. You want to drink water first?
dig deeper.
I wrote this title, it's so long. This is ordinance 12-22, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, Florida, approving proposed village-initiated amendments to the village charter, which proposed amendments would increase council member terms from 2 years to 3 years, add new term limits of 3 consecutive terms thereafter, requiring a 1-term waiting period before running for office again, revise village council reorganization procedures to conform with the new 3-year terms, require any person running for the office of council member to have resided in the village of Tequesta for a minimum of 1 continuous year prior to being eligible to qualify and run for the office of council member, eliminate the requirement for runoff elections to resolve tie votes among candidates for council member office, and instead provide for the drawing of lots, eliminate the requirement for a special election to fill a council member vacancy caused by death, resignation, removal from office, or failure to qualify, and to instead allow a temporary village council appointment until the next general election, require a referendum and voter approval prior to any future consideration by the village council for dissolving, abolishing, or outsourcing the Village of Tequesta Police Department or Fire Rescue Department, and provide non-substantive text edits, internal consistency, general language clarification, and organization in accordance with Ordinance 12-22, passed and adopted by the Village Council, and it has July 14th, presuming that will be second reading, providing ballot title and ballot summary in accordance with the requirements of Florida law, providing for proposed charter amendment question language, and putting said charter amendment questions to a vote of the electors of the village at the March 14th, 2023 municipal election, providing an effective date and for other purposes. This is first reading, having gone through months of charter review committee work, followed by several council workshops on the matter. This is the product that is the result of all that hard and good work.
Any council comment?
This is what we've been talking about for months. If it's
I
what we
just
were
had
talking about,
one
I'd
question.
recommend it.
If somebody's appointed temporarily, it says to the next general election, so does that mean November or March?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay.
That's the one I got stuck on for a while.
Okay.
If we don't remember.
I think this is a very important task to do. I know it's, I think you started this ball rolling, and happy that we did it, and I think we did a very thorough job, and we did it the right way, so great job.
Okay, any public comment?
As a member of the Charter Committee, I want to thank y'all for your support and the workshops, and that you went with all the recommendations. It's very heartening to know. I think our task going forward to sell this to the village, especially in a March election, is going to be rather overwhelming. So I offer any support that I can give you with time or effort or anything I can do to advance this and get a good turnout at the polls.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir? Mhm.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Councilmember Gwen Guerry, in the Country Club, 200 Golview Drive. Quick question on the changes proposed, which I completely in favor, but just to clarify, if somebody is appointed to finish a term, does that count against the majority, the 3 terms that they can have afterwards, or can they still be elected and serve 3 more consecutive terms after that, first of all? And regarding the appointment, is that an appointment by the majority of the council member or unanimous?
Would you mind answering them?
So no, it's not, it was not unanimous. A unanimous vote's not required, a majority vote's required, and I am almost certain we landed on not counting the appointed term against the 3-year term limit.
Correct.
Correct. And there was a lot of discussion about that, but ultimately it was decided to write it so that that did not count towards the term limit.
But the appointee would have to run in an election.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah, they don't just inherit the seat.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? All right, can I get a motion?
Make a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, agenda item 18.
Mayor, I think that officially relieves the committee of their duty, I think.
Yay.
We do
Well-
appreciate them.
Actually,
Uh-oh, I tried, he's gonna tell you no.
You could actually, this still has to go through second reading, so.
I thought the first reading did it.
One more month. They could send it back to you next month.
Oh, I tried, Marcia, I'm sorry.
There might be a contract.
All right, agenda item 18, ordinance number 13-22, which is, I think, some amendments to pension trust funds.
Okay. Agenda item number 18, ordinance 1322, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 2, Administration by amending Exhibit B to Section 2-61, Pension Trust Funds, Public Safety Officers Pension Trust Fund by amending Section 2 definitions to amend the definition of credited service, to provide for the inclusion of active military service time or time served as a firefighter for another governmental employer, to clarify vested, deferred retirement, and by amending Section 8 and 9 to adopt presumptions of Florida statutes, and by amending Section 14 Deferred Retirement Option Plan, Section 21 Distribution of Benefits, and Section 22 Miscellaneous Provisions to update plan to incorporate the new required minimum distribution age of 72, amending Section 27 Service Prior to Employment, to amend the section to comply with changes that were collectively bargained, providing for a conflicts clause, severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. This is first reading. I'm happy to go through this if you like. Basically, there are 3 different types of amendments. There's the collective bargained amendments, there are the statutory conforming amendments, and then there are the non-substantive clarifying amendments. So I guess I could go through this for the next 45 minutes if you like, or if you have questions, I can try to answer those as well. I would like to point out one item on page 11 of the ordinance. 9. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Page 11 of the ordinance, there's a typo that I just want the council to approve without the typo.
Can you tell me where this police officer?
Why am I not finding it? It's in section 78-895. There's one word that was stricken, which needs to remain in the document. I had it all marked up and now I can't find it.
Let me look through this stack.
No, it's,
Yeah, how's that pile going?
this is my
You were
marked
just
up
bragging about.
stack.
Can we just search a word?
Yeah.
I don't even see a section 78.
No, there's not a section 7 there. Section 7.
Keep going here. Okay, section 15, subsection 1C, the word proper was stricken and it needs to remain in the document. The board shall review the case and enter such order thereon as it deems right and proper, period. And then the rest of that section was stricken, but the word proper in the document you have before you was inadvertently stricken through and it needs to remain.
Works for me. Okay, any council comments? Nope. Any public comment? Can I get a motion?
Make a motion to correct the error to allow the word proper in section 15, 1C, and then approve as is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aaron.
all right, moving on to agenda item 19, approve a temporary increase in authorized positions for the police department. Chief Medina?
Evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Before you for your consideration is a request from the police department to increase the number of authorized positions by one. It's an unbudgeted expense that the staff is proposing to assist with maintaining minimum staffing levels. Just so everyone's aware, I will have 2 officers that will be out FMLA, both of them for 2 months at least as of now. I also have an officer that will be retiring. He's eligible to retire in November, possibly looking at January, February. And I also had an officer prior to me putting the request that is now light duty. I don't know how long he has an MRI coming, so, that's another officer that's not on the road, so. I'm requesting a temporary, once that also retires, we will not replace the position, so we will go back to 20.
Okay, thank you. Any council comment?
So the new officer that's temporary would take the spot that when Officer Fabiano retires?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Not Fabiano.
Yeah, he's already retired.
He's not retired yet.
No, Fabiano.
No, he's not, yeah,
No, Fabiano, no.
No, he
it's,
hasn't retired yet.
It's another officer that's
Another officer
due to
that's-
retire, yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Fabiano's already retired.
Also, Fabiano retired already.
You've already replaced him with.
Yes, correct.
Oh, sorry,
Yes,
okay.
that's the
He's
new
off
hire that
living the
started
life now.
on Monday.
When I was looking,
Gone.
they referenced him here, that's why I was, okay.
I use,
Expense.
just so you know, I use his salary based off what came off the books, so there's a
Okay.
savings there. When you hire the second officer, there's a $30,000 savings,
Okay.
which in essence, the cost for the temporary officer won't be as high.
Okay, any other council comments? Nope. Any public comment? Nope. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to agenda item 20, resolution number 19-22, to amend the fiscal year budget for a motorcycle. Chief, you're on deck
Yes,
again?
before you, thank you, Mayor, you have before you a request for your consideration. We're looking to purchase a motorcycle with seizure money. Again, the special law enforcement fund that obviously doesn't cost taxpayers any money. That's money that Officer Loney and prior people that have been detailed out, money that's come back to the village to use for law enforcement purposes. But we're looking to utilize that money, which right now we have available over $197,000 to purchase a motorcycle. As you all know, obviously with the US 1 bridge, coming close to fruition in regards to closing, traffic is going to increase. I have a few numbers just to share with you in regards to wherever you see we have that license plate reader and also our speed trailers. Just the amount of traffic in the village has tremendously increased during time. Beach Road, for example, on 1 week, we've had 19,500 vehicles. When you look at Village Boulevard, a smaller road, we have 1 week time, 11 days, 10,600 vehicles. The Oaks, as small as it is, you're looking at 5,700 vehicles within a week. And we look at Country Club, which you all know is a cutout, and Martin County's doing a lot of construction. There's a lot of cut through on Country Club. People going back to Jupiter. On 12/30 to 1/7, we did an analysis. We had 21,717 vehicles. When we took a look at it again in February, that increased to 24,058 vehicles. So obviously there's a large increase in traffic in the village. My number one complaint has always been speeding. The motorcycle will help us, now more than ever in regards to gas prices. You're looking at 42 miles per gallon as opposed to a new vehicle that's 19 miles per gallon. So that will help have some cost savings on that. In regards to the speeding, it allows you to get into areas where, you could put a motorcycle where they won't be seen and help curtail some of that speeding as opposed to putting a vehicle out there a little more visible, obviously. It's funny that you actually talked about that. One of the things that the residents have been coming back is saying, why don't we have a motor unit? There's an increase in traffic, that's an issue. As far as from the public relations standpoint of it, they're not in a vehicle, windows aren't up. Obviously, our guys have the windows down, but what have you, but you're out there a little more freely, or more accessible, a little more community friendly in regards to having that. So it will benefit the police department. Again, the cost is $44,000, and we will be utilizing seizure money for that. So there won't be any cost to the taxpayers.
Okay, council comments?
What about additional training for this officer?
So we have one officer that just joined us that actually did 9.5 years at PBSO as a motor unit. What we'll do is when we get closer, we'll put it out. Anyone interested, obviously, we'll put it out, give everyone an opportunity to have that. But he does come already trained in that regard.
So that was kind of going to be my question, was what is the plan to have one officer or one officer per shift? That way your motorcycle can be used at all times.
One officer. Right now it's one officer that will work at obviously in peak hours of traffic, Monday through Friday. It's our peak hours in the morning with the kids, in the school buses, in the school zones, and afternoon with traffic home. So that's right now we're looking at, again, with the, I was getting confused with our radar thing that captures the vehicles. That gives us a printout of when traffic is highest or when it's lowest in particular areas. So that'll help us guide us that intelligence at what time, we put them out there.
All right, it's just because in my opinion, if we're going to have something like that, why not try to use it 7 days a week? Something to think about.
Baby steps.
I know, so I said something to think about.
We used to have a motor unit here years ago.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. I do want to say, Chief, you opened the door when you mentioned what Pert said about windows. They're not riding with windows down. I'm constantly looking, because I know the guys. I worked with them, and I never know who's driving the truck. Never. Always up.
It'll be addressed.
So I'm still trying to wrap my head around, and I will say I understand this is coming from the Special Law Enforcement Fund, so taxpayers aren't paying for it. And this might not be fair or make sense, but in my world, we deal with optics a lot too. So not every resident's gonna know that they're not paying for this. And I'm still trying to understand the safety benefit and what can be done that's not done in the cars. You explained it a little bit, but I'm having a hard time understanding the overall benefit.
Maneuverability within the town with the increase in traffic, there's so much more you can do with a motorcycle as opposed to a motor vehicle. We will get there at that location regardless, but with a motorcycle you have the ability to kind of weave in and out of traffic, give it a high situation in regards with the bridge. And I was having this conversation with Chief England just yesterday. They just purchased 2 brand new motorcycles themselves. And we talked about mutual aid in regards to once the bridge is closed, they will have a harder time to come on our side in that regard. So if something happens, the motorcycle will be a lot quicker to be able to get there, assess what we have, and, start rendering, God forbid, its aid in that regard. It'll be there a lot quicker in that regard. So.
It's also a good idea because you can dedicate this motor unit. That's what it is. It's a motor unit. I know because it's called a motorcycle, but it's also handling traffic all day. That's what it does, right? So you don't have to have necessarily a patrol vehicle parked on US 1 when it could be patrolling, right? You have that motor unit out there, and that's what they're doing. They're making sure they're calming traffic. That's their one job, essentially.
And Councilman's right, one of the things they do, they'll handle accidents, anything major in that regard. That one officer, Breslin, I think he is, right, crashed one?
He has the two crash.
He has the two crash in regards to THI. There's just an additional task that we would have to give him, but he would be able to handle as long as he's not on a job on a detail to handle the accidents, allowing the other officers to do other patrol duties.
So like from a response time, how much faster is it gonna be with a motorcycle?
It just varies, in regards to traffic. It's just, I don't have to tell you, lights and sirens go on, not everyone pulls over. Some people just have a tendency of just freezing kind of. So it's just a little bit quicker, the ability of getting there, so.
And this is for Officer Breslin, right? Who's gonna be riding it?
Oh, I'm gonna put it out to the department, give them an opportunity to apply. Officer Breslin, I'm speaking about Breslin because he has certification.
How long is the school, if for whatever reason he doesn't go?
Oh, no, I meant what officer is gonna be?
That's it.
Oh, I thought, and so,
Position.
okay. And then my other, and again, I know this is coming from the law enforcement fund, but on here it says the total cost is yet to be determined due to finalizing the quotes. So is it 44,000 not?
Yeah, that's correct. It's 44,000. I don't know why I said that. It's not wrong. 44,000. Just in case there's anything additional that we may need in regards to radio or anything specific equipment-wise. And just so you know, Mayor, one of the things that from our organization and the group that we did is, you're right, a lot of times information isn't getting out there. That's one of the things that the committee had said, when we're doing some great things, but we're not getting it out there. So one of the things is we're doing is, with Lori's help, is the Chief's Corner. So we'll be, we have other avenues to put it out there saying it's coming from the special law enforcement fund at no cost to the taxpayer. We actually have a trifold flyer that we actually give to community members that lists some of the things that we purchased through those special law enforcement fund that's been zero cost to the taxpayer as well. So it's about getting the message out there.
That's a quick question on that. What's the lifespan of this motorcycle?
Honestly, I don't know.
5 years? 3 years?
I'd have to get back to you on Jupiter's to see how long they took. They just replaced it literally this week. I think I was there Tuesday or Wednesday. And they replaced it. I can get back to you in regards to that.
And then to replace it, can you use the same funds?
Yes.
Okay.
We can, because I thought you couldn't use it
to
I thought you
record.
could only use it to add to the fleet, not.
Well, Councilman Stone had asked that question last time, and we had reached out to Essex Forfeiture, and they basically gave me the flyer and said, here you go again. And when we looked at it, said if it meets the criteria, and we purchase it through that, then we can replace it with that as well.
Okay.
So we can get a new boat?
Not yet. Well, it's funny because I have talked to them in regards, and from talking to people that know a lot more than I do in regards to boat, they said probably 10 years, and what was still going on, it was probably the motors, and it would be a matter of replacing.
Yeah, but at some point, when it's necessary, you can use these funds. I'm not saying go do it now, but yeah.
Might want to order those now.
Start now for 10 years later.
I'm not kind of kidding.
And then one more question, is there any, I know Lori asked about training already, is there any like special insurance or different kind of insurance we have to get? Is it more of liability to have someone on a motorcycle versus a car?
I'm not sure. I mean, honestly, it's something I'd have to speak with Marlene. I know obviously she'd have to insure it. I just don't know how much additional it would be in that regard. I honestly don't know that number.
I would imagine similar to the cost of the vehicle itself.
I don't know. I mean, someone could get maybe more injured on a bike. I don't know. That's why I'm asking. So, okay. Any other council comments?
No.
Okay. Any public comment? All right. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's very hard for me, this one, but I have to say no. Okay, moving on. Item number 21. This is resolution number 18-22, amendment to the budget for, it's not on here, amendment to the budget for what, Matt?
This is an amendment to the stormwater fund, moving dollars from designated ARPA dollars over to the stormwater fund. So 21 and 22 are tied together. The first one is the budget amendment. For the work, this stems out of the road assessment that Doug and his team have done. One of the projects, or one of the areas identified, is El Portal Drive. And in order to address the needs on El Portal Drive, there are some stormwater improvements that are needed. And so that's Road improvements are being proposed, or will be proposed as part of next year's budget. And so the design for the stormwater work is what is being presented to you tonight, to have that done and ready so they can hit the ground running come next fiscal year. So the first item 21 is the resolution to amend the stormwater budget, moving funds, ARPA designated dollars over to the stormwater fund to make it happen. And then 22 is the approving the work authorization with Chaison Associates for the work.
Okay, thank you. Any council comments?
So I have a question for Doug. Because this is for the El Portal area, would this help prep that area for what the residents have been asking you for the safety concerns over there?
Yeah, after we completed the core sampling, we've identified some need for stormwater improvements on El Portal. And then in fiscal year 2023, we're going to propose road improvements, some addition of some sidewalk on that whole loop of El Portal and Pine Tree and South Yacht Club Place.
Okay, so this project does contribute to the benefit of that.
Matt's going to get the engineering portion done, and then next year it'll be presented as a whole package.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other council comments? I'll just say I'm very excited to see ARPA funds go towards infrastructure, so this is a really nice one to see. Any public comment? Oh, can I get a motion?
Make a motion to approve number 21.
Does it need
21,
to be
yeah.
read, because it's a resolution, even though it's not as long as your earlier one?
No, the motion was to approve agenda item 21.
Correct.
And then we'll take 22 separately.
And I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and moving on to 22, which is the actual work authorization for Chaison Associates.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then the last one, agenda item 23, it's work authorization number 2 with Hinterland Group for things with stormwater rehab in the Country Club golf course.
Yep, so as part of the village's integrated stormwater system, there are parts of the stormwater system that run through the golf course. The village is not responsible for all of the stormwater infrastructure on the golf course, but those parts that tie streets together. And so this is one of those pieces. It's 2 segments of pipe. This is part of the budgeted pipelining work for the fiscal year. And we'll be using the piggyback contract that we already have in place with the Hinterland Group to accomplish it. And should it be approved tonight, they are on ready to go to accomplish this next week while the golf course is down for regular maintenance work.
That was going to be my question.
That's great. They're waiting to hear the go, but they're on standby to go next week.
Guess you're not playing next week then.
Course is closed next week for maintenance still, so perfect time.
Any council comments? No. Any public comment? All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to any other matters. Start down with Councilmember Johnson.
None.
Councilmember Brandon?
No, ma'am.
Nope.
No?
I have none.
So I'll bring up a couple. We had 2 citizens comment tonight about our rules of decorum for time frame, and then as well as having chickens allowable in the code. I do believe you guys have had the chicken conversation before I was on council, maybe not. So I don't know if you guys have already gone down that road, but are either of these items anything we'd like to add to our workshop list?
The chickens, yeah, I think we should talk about that.
I don't mind talking about either one. I just,
Yeah.
I'm not, like you just said, though, we've talked about them several times, so I don't know if anything different's gonna come out of it, but I'm always open to talking about it.
I think with chickens, though, I mean, it's really becoming more popular year over year. I don't know how it happened, but chickens have become domesticated.
Because they're adorable.
And agree to disagree. But, yeah, I mean, it's allowed in, like, my sister lives in Jupiter Farms, and they have chickens, and I get eggs from her. So I think it's worth talking about. I know it's called Jupiter Farms. The word farm, I know, waiting for someone to say that, but, you know.
I'm sure that's
Maybe that's the
comparable,
best
but.
example.
Is there a Tequesta farm?
So I mean, if we talked about, that would be something I would bring or have brought to us, is some factual backing for what chickens need, what's a healthy need for them, whether it's a space, fencing type issue, like all that would have to come to the table so we can make an educated decision if it fits in Tequesta.
And I've never been part of the past conversations with us. I don't know where that road went down.
I don't recall we've ever
I
talked
think
about
it's-
chickens before.
We have.
We have?
Yeah. I think it's wise that we continue to talk about these information and stuff, and, you know, things change, so.
So I'm for both topics being workshopping.
Do you want to put goats in there too? So I can
We
get
just
my,
got a chicken request.
so
We'll
I
just
can
leave
put my
it
pygmy,
with chickens
so I can
for
get
now.
my pygmy goat.
I don't want to talk about goats. Okay, so can you add both those, Jeremy, to the workshop list, please? And then I did want to bring up one more potential item to workshop. So I know we've had, there's a local group that is kind of fighting against 5G, not to stop it completely, but to do more studies on it and the health and safety side effects for the residents. So Hellendale Beach did a resolution and sent it to urge state and federal to sufficiently study the health effects of the small wireless facilities, small cell towers, to accommodate the new 5G technology, and then once those studies are done, revisit the installation guidelines for, you know, the health and welfare of the residents. This has been at Congress and FCC often, but and Keith, you can correct me if I'm wrong, what I understand, the FCC guidelines are sorely outdated. So I'd like to workshop it and take a look at what Hellendale Beach did, and really it's just a letter urging them to look at it, you know, and I think you gotta start somewhere, and I think sometimes you can be a leader, and if more people do this, maybe the state will start listening. There's a bunch of data out there from doctors and scientists that say that there are some negative health effect, you know, side effects that no one's talking about or looking at. So I'd personally like to workshop it, and just wanna see if anyone else would be interested.
I'm fine with that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's some legitimate health concerns that have been expressed, and I think the issue that we ran into, I believe, Keith, was we had limited ability because of state law to do a whole lot with this. Even if we decided as a collective group that we wanted to not permit 5G into the area, I think we're limited in our authority to act on that, are we not?
In my opinion, if the council wanted to send correspondence urging additional work at the federal level, you're certainly within your right to do that. In my opinion, the code that we have right now is about as far as you can legally go that's defensible. So, yes, we've had that discussion many times.
So the conversation would be whether or not to send a letter or not.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
And I know Hellendale Beach is a good example. I don't know if there's any other out there that we could find, and well, that's the one I just know about and
Yep.
read, so. And then one more workshop item, I know Frank brought up during communications from council, the Parks and Rec. I don't know if we want to workshop that again. I'm in favor of, we just opened, I'm in favor for letting it ride for a couple more months and get more data before we talk about it again. That's just my opinion. But Frank brought that up, so I want to see if we should add it to the list or.
I would agree. I would say let's get some data.
I'd say let's wait a little bit.
Do you want to wait, like, what was Greg's initial, like, 3 months, 4, I mean, just so we can kind of put a gauge to it?
I don't know if he specified, but I would say, you know, wait until after the summer program, because that's, right now, when we talk about we can't use the gym, 'cause we have 100 kids in there. I mean, the summer program is what's dictating not allowing kids in there. If we want to kick the summer program out, then we can have a lot of gym space. So I don't know how good it'll be to really look at those policies until after the summer program's over, in my opinion.
Just to be clear, the comments I got were not concerns over the summer program. They were independent of that, just for the record, so.
But I agree what was just said, like, it's so new, and we don't even know what our seasons are, and we just hit summer, so we're still learning. and then school will start, and then things will adjust again.
Yeah, and, like,
And
it
for
might
me,
change after
that'll
school
give me
starts,
some
too.
actual number data on what type of residents, how many residents, the time frames of the days that are most popular. I don't even know those answers.
Okay, so monitor, give them on our list, just monitor and
Yep.
wait a couple months and get more data.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I didn't have anything else. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wow. That's impressive.